So this is a really quick guide to using Twitter for academics or for your research or as a student. It's very light touch, but we're going to give you a few key points and then I'm going to give you a video tour in the middle just to show you some of the main elements and how you might work your way around Twitter. Of course, it's not for everybody, and we always suggest that if you're going to engage with something, it's worth doing it properly and checking in regularly, and if you're going to tweet, it's worth tweeting regularly. So what we suggest you do is read this. If you like the sound of it, have a go, and if you decide it's not for you, then you can just delete your profile and come off. But it's something worth thinking about, and it might be something you can engage with professionally rather than from a personal perspective. So what does Twitter do? Well, you can be a passive bystander on Twitter. You can follow lots of people, organisations and companies and find out what's happening in the world through their eyes. But you can also engage. You can tweet your own thoughts on your studies, events you've attended, papers you've read or written. You can also get involved by liking, retweeting and replying to others' tweets. You can direct message people if you've seen them at a conference. You can retweet people and say that you really enjoyed what they were doing. There's lots and lots of ways you can get involved. You can add hashtags to your tweets to directly link with other messages that are being put out there, perhaps about a conference that you're at. So there's lots and lots of different ways you can engage, but equally, if you want to, you can just take a step back and use it as a way of learning more about what's going on in academia. So why would you want to use it? Well, with over 340 million active monthly users, the scale of data on Twitter is huge. And a lot of it, of course, isn't relevant for research. This is just people putting their daily thoughts out there. But there are perhaps 3 reasons why you might find it useful. One is for promotion. Tell people what you're doing, your research, your publications, talks that you're giving. You can link to more in-depth information that you might be producing on a departmental webpage, on a conference site or a blog. And there are lots of people going through the same process as you. They'd be really interested to hear your approaches to dealing with the challenges of research, the sort of tools you're employing, how you're networking with others, and particularly how you're coping if you're working at a distance. Secondly is for the purposes of research. There's a wealth of qualitative data available out there from individual subjects about current world events and organisations such as NGOs, governments and influential individuals. It's also a great tool for enlisting the help of the public in your research, what might also be known as citizen science. And then finally, you might want to keep up to date, to follow peers, key academics, conferences, follow hashtags specific to your field to monitor developments and publications. The insights will of course be brief, but they will very regularly link out to a website for more information, perhaps a new publication or a report. So this is Twitter if you haven't seen it before. You can see on the left-hand side there's a menu, and we'll explore that in a little bit more detail later on. In the central pane, these are the tweets that you can see, and these are from people that you follow. If you click on their name, you can see a little bit more information about them and some keywords, and so it's important when you're creating your profile to think about that. Think about what you want people to see and whether they want to follow you for private reasons or for work reasons. On the right hand side there are some options to link to topics that are trending, popular topics, and to think about who you could follow as well based on your other connections. You can see in a tweet you only get 280 characters, so a way to link to more information is to either include a hashtag, and so that will take you to other tweets on a similar topic. That way you don't have to give too much contextual information. Or what you can do is you can link to something here. So you can see they've linked to a blog entry, and that's a great thing for Twitter, is to publicize what you've done elsewhere, whether it's a poster or a talk. It's really good to include some high quality images, and much more eye-catching, and tweets with images get much more greater response. So something like Unsplash is a really good resource to use. You can search for an image related to what you're talking about, and these are all copyright free. You can credit them, but you're not required to. You can retweet things that you read that are tweeted by your followers. You can either do that as a straight one or with a comment, or if you don't want it to appear in your Twitter stream, you can just like it. You can choose to like something instead. And when something you tweet is liked or retweeted, you get a notification about it. You also get a notification if somebody directly includes your username. So they put an @ symbol at the start, and then you'll get a notification if you appear in any other tweets that mention you when there's that @ symbol. You can also direct message people as well. This is if you just put their username in, you don't need to use the @ sign, so that takes it out of the public sphere, which is useful, and again you'd be notified about that in some way. So when you develop a profile, think about why you want to create it, who you're creating it for. There's a little link there to edit your profile. Make sure you include an image of yourself or a club or society that you're representing, and a banner image as well, something that says very clearly about you. And if you click on your profile, that's when you get to see all the tweets that you've created. If you want something that always appears at the top, you can pin it to your profile, or you can delete and manage your profile and the tweets that you've created that way. You can see also they'll make more suggestions about who to follow based on similar followers that you have. And you can follow back through your And so here are some top tips for using Twitter. The main thing is to kind of make your profile work for you. As we said, decide what you want it to do, what you want it to say, the sort of audience you're trying to attract, link to a website or a blog that you're also on, and use a photograph that represents you as you're studying. So make it look pretty professional, but of course it could be you out in the field or in the lab or in the library, or just a nice clear photograph of yourself. Also make sure that you stick to your field or subject for the most part. Use something like Instagram for your food or your travel posts, but if you're going to use this for work-related purposes, try and stick to that. We've already mentioned the idea of following people who are relevant to your field as well, and that will kind of boost your feed, because you'll be able to retweet things that they're talking about, you'll be able to like them, and it'll kind of boost your presence online. Don't be afraid to at someone, even if they're famous or senior to you. Ask them questions, give them compliments. If you've had an interaction in real life, that way you can connect with them. If you've seen them talk, that's a really good idea. If you've seen a program or you've read a book or a journal article that they wrote, then connect with people that way. We suggest that you don't swear online, so think about that, and not to feed trolls. Be prepared for people to come back to you if you tweet something controversial. So keep it professional, keep the tone similar all the way through. And I think that's really important, is to think about developing a sort of tweeting style. And there's lots of resources out there that you can connect with to kind of find out whether or not you want to keep it conversational in tone, keep it really professional. And there's risks and there's pros and cons to doing those two different styles. So think about how you want to come across to people, how much you want to connect with them, whether or not you want it to be kind of a bit more kind of cool and collected, or whether you want to kind of convey something of your personality. And also finally, just to be careful when you're liking other people's tweets. You just have to be careful, check out that person in advance, make sure that you agree with the majority of their tweets, not just with one that's kind of come through to your feed because somebody else liked it. So you could, of course, be criticized, even if you agree with the sentiment of one thing. If somebody's controversial, you don't necessarily want to be linked to them. And then we've talked about all sorts of other things as well, about using hashtags and using good images. So there's lots of different ways that you can engage, but what I'd suggest you do is just get out there and give it a go.